Not really, but let's go. Let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, it's complaining about the audio again, but we're just going to live with it. I'm going to record a local copy here, and you're recording a copy, so.
All right. Going to start my copy now. I should probably stop the music in the background since that will be captured,
Yeah. I
which
don't
is
hear it,
unfortunate.
but, you know.
I would like to be able to have a radio of sorts going in the background.
Well, I can share with you some, what am I trying to say? I could share with you some royalty-free sites. You just have to credit them.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Basically, if you want the high-quality version, table flip. Setting. View primary. Copy and paste of the key. Go. Fine. That's fine. Audio is AAC 128, which is what they recommend. Woo!
So it's YouTube that prefers audio AAC 128.
Well, it doesn't say it has to be AAC, but 128 is a good default,
Okay.
de
I've just
facto.
yeah, I've been recording my Xbox videos. MPEG 1 layer 2, 192 kilobit per second.
Yeah, 192 is a bit high, but you can always go down.
Yeah. And I'm not too certain of what MPEG 1 is as far as the quality goes. Seems all right.
That's well, the thing about MPEG 1 is old,
Hmm.
and it's a video format. When you say like MP3s, that's actually MPEG layer 3, which the layer 3
Oh.
is the audio layer.
Wow. So I've been running MP2 as my audio.
You could do MP2 as audio. MP2 is what DVDs are authored at, but that's the video and audio. Well,
Oh.
it gets a little confusing. I'm
Yeah.
butchering it.
Yeah. I
Now it's
don't.
telling me my audio stream is 86 kilobits. So I'm going down.
That's weird.
I don't know what to do. The next step is a full reset.
Hmm.
That's what I'm gonna do. I will just call you back when I'm gonna instead of trying to fix it. I'm gonna reboot the computer and the router and everything. Everything's going.
Looks like we're actually getting started after 3, after all. Yeah, these headphones are so tight.
Okay.
There needs
Now
to be a
it
way to fix
says
that.
health is good. We are live.
Okay, we are live. Cool.
What it claims. watch page.
Yeah, I'll need a link to that.
Oh yeah, I'm broadcasting with technical. But yes, we are most definitely live.
Okay, I just read a stupid headline. Okay. Right. We should petition Twitter for a 142 character limit.
Yeah. There we go. I'm noticing a lot of my tweets end up being exactly 140 characters. I have to take extras.
Yeah. Okay, now it's live. Let's go to that tweet.
I was fussing about my audio again.
How dare it? Ah, nice. Let's see, you have Hearthstone today. It ought to work.
And look, I made it to level 19.
So you have DuckTales as the... Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that picture. It's funny.
And I can't credit it because I can't remember. I didn't save a link. But maybe I'll find it again. Today we have a whole bunch of other crap to talk about, mostly technology and a little bit of, well, mostly technology today. The first story, it looks like it's about the Microsoft Band, and that actually belongs to you, so I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Oh, yes, the Microsoft Band has been out for about 7 or 8 months now, since October, and it's seen some surprising success on Microsoft's end for a tech demo.
With Android, they've opened up their API. Imagine that, a tech company playing ball and it's Microsoft, but
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's one thing that really intrigues me about the Microsoft Band is how open they are about it in its just raw capability. Um, yeah, it's good for displaying little bits of text messages. It can be a walk counter, a heart rate monitor, a sleep tracker, um, and it has other notification capabilities like email and calendar. And it, as a watch-like device, it actually tells time and tells it clearly in a digital format, which is, awesome. uh, all while having a roughly 2 day battery life, which is just enough to actually get sleep tracking done.
Yeah, because that's you know that doesn't make much sense. If you can't get at least a full 24 hour, none of the sleep tracking stuff could really be valid. Um,
Right.
do you know if that holds up? If you have it, like if I wanted to constantly monitor my heart rate, let's say I was somebody who had heart issues or just wanted to, do you think it would last 2 days? I mean, I don't see anything here in
Well,
any of the notes that say that.
yeah, I didn't flesh out those notes
Well,
that
I'm
much
looking at
today.
articles now too.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
According to Rod Trent, in a comment he put on his post that I will be referring to in a minute,
okay,
uh, when actively doing fitness tracking, automatically adjust microphone settings.
well,
Can
no,
you?
it's cutting out like the connection's dropping.
Hmm.
Uh,
Check, check, check. Okay. Hmm. So there's some kind of issue in the connection itself. I don't
yeah,
know if it's just me to you or I have no idea where it could be dropping.
well, I know
Really.
because it's probably my end because YouTube keeps complaining. Like now it says everything's fine, but a couple minutes ago it was complaining about my audio bandwidth being low, which is odd.
Hmm. Yes, that is odd.
So
Um.
okay, well,
Well, I'm viewing the stream now. It looks smooth. Uh.
I can hear
Well,
you now.
okay, that's good. Maybe I should shift my mic. I need to get a proper stand for my mic.
Oh, and I
Um.
also forgot to start the timer. Let's start that now.
Okay. All right. Well, back to the band, the Microsoft
Yes.
band. Given the limitations of Surface RT being a Windows 8 RT device and not full 8.1, I believe they approached the band with much more caution, and they have learned a lot. But it's an advanced piece of technology, uh, and for $250, it's a bargain compared to say like the Apple Watch, the which is more about the style and it's a status symbol type of thing, if anything. Uh, and it has the band. It has the GPS tracker, which the Apple Watch does not. It has the heart rate monitor, which both of those are good for tracking fitness. It has good compatibility with all, and I'm really interested in the sleep tracking for one. It just seems like a good, well-rounded device, but it is a 1.0 device, so it has its issues. The Apple Watch is a 1.0 device as well, so it's going to have its issues, which battery life is a big one for it right now, and its severe dependence on the specific iPhones. But according to Rod Trent and I believe a couple of others I spotted earlier on Twitter, there is a version 2 of the Microsoft Band coming in the pipeline, and it may arrive around October again of 2015 this year. Some things expected is even more sensors to go with the band, possibly a better battery life, some improvements to the materials and design, maybe making the screen curved and more scratch resistant, possibly with Gorilla Glass. Fixing the issues where, like, the sensor cover and the battery cover may wrinkle. Um, which was more of a cosmetic issue from what I understand, reading some tweets. And uh, of course, the improvements of thinner, faster, lighter, which the battery life goes along with that as well. Uh, let's see. But Rod Trent has a good article, a good short article to read that explains this in an
Yeah.
annotated fashion.
Well, we can
It,
link to that article
yeah, well,
in the podcast when we've actually published this.
yes,
Yeah, because we
but
I mean,
yeah,
you've already sent it to me.
yeah, that is that's mostly rumor, but it would make sense for that to come out in that form. And since Windows 10 is rolling out this summer, or maybe this fall if it gets delayed, uh, the Microsoft Band may run that as well in one of its forms. So, should be better on compatibility, or even better on compatibility.
Okay, cool.
I think it's interesting.
Yep. So, well, the next story is mine, and it'll be very easy to source because it's from me.
Personal experience.
Yes, I just wanted to talk about. I just want to get your thoughts on this because, and I want to start out by saying, I don't think it was nefarious. I don't think there's any maliciousness behind it. It's just something that does concern me because it's not. It's always been a technological possibility. Um, we got a message, and I'm gonna see if I can bring up my picture. Um, Last night or the night before, that we had hit 60% of our data usage, which
Right?
is which is fine. Except the way they did it is I was on Amazon.com and they injected my ISP injected a, which I'm gonna try not to name them right now because I don't know how angry I want to get at them over this, but they they injected JavaScript, which is a valid web technology, and I don't know, if anybody does listen to this, how much they'll know about JavaScript or any web technology. I would say is that the ISP will give you whatever data that you requested, unmolested, unchanged. That wasn't the case. They put this JavaScript in there, and it pops up the message. Popped up that message, and that's just my concern because you could do a lot of bad stuff with JavaScript. I mean, you could break web pages. You could change. I mean, I guess the fact that it was JavaScript doesn't really mean much because you could return anything. Because your ISP is your pipeline. You could say, "Take me to Amazon.com," and then they can come back and give you the goatse image or whatever. But that's not what they did. They just notified us that we were coming up on our daily usage or monthly usage or data cap, and they do charge for that once you go over it.
Right. But the delivery method is what's disturbing.
Right. So I just wanted to see what you thought about that because like I said, they didn't do anything nefarious. They didn't do anything bad, but
On the face of it.
they did modify the website content. And I will say, years ago, ISPs have come under attack, which I thought we were past this, but I guess not, by adding their own ads in the web page. You would go to Amazon.com, and they would stick, your ISP would stick at the bottom an ad for their stuff,
Right.
which I don't think is cool either. And if it's to cover the cost, well then, you know. But anyway, I just want to know what your thoughts were on it.
Well, them injecting their own ads is self-serving, really, and it's
Correct.
substituting or it's sort of pushing out the potential for others
Right, but
advertisement space.
that's not what they
But
did this time. They
yeah,
did,
I'm just gonna clear that one.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that is a bit self-serving. It's just like Google has come under some scrutiny about possibly perf. I'm sorry, what?
I opened the wrong snippet.
Oh, okay.
Well,
um,
I guess I
yeah,
can't show it and be anonymous, so I'm going to show it. It was Comcast. That's my
yeah,
ISP, and I will add that I normally do defend them because they do catch a lot of grief, and a lot of it's not earned. A lot of it is earned, but but anyway, here
yeah.
it is.
They're trying to remedy some of the criticism with their sort of bad uh, PR by contracting out a lot of the work to different companies. And I know this via a personal source that will not go mentioned um, for the sake of their livelihoods. Uh, it is their job, so. But Comcast seems to step on people's feet a lot in ways that just do not seem ethical or moral in some senses. And if they're modifying code or injecting code, doing anything other than simply metering, well, I'm not even sure if metering is very ethical, but that's a different story. The They're an internet service provider. Their sole purpose is to provide a reasonably solid and fast connection to the internet. It is a service because it is technically a competitor to Comcast TV service. And I just feel like if they are doing things, even if it is benign, like saying, "Hey, you're approaching your data cap," what else could they be doing behind the scenes? Because they're basically is like, "Hey, I'm walking into your home." I mean, well, the argument could be, "Hey, I'm walking into your home, handing you a letter or a notice saying your your rent is coming up," for example, um, or
You're
your
comparing them to like the mailman,
well,
except
like walking into your home unannounced, but the mailman's not supposed to come into the residence. It's supposed to leave you a notice somewhere without doing anything else. Just dropping it by, but not in. There's a mailbox. There's a delivery place for that. Um, I'm not sure the best way to describe it, but it's just, hey, they were in there, and they did a few things to notify you, but what else could they be doing? What if they're doing deep packet inspection, basically sniffing around through your stuff? Um, it's just a little, it's a little off-putting.
right.
Yeah. Um,
Well, and I think I agree with you almost 100%. I mean, they should be able to do things like they should be able to meter. Now, when you say meter, you must mean meter with the intent to charge,
yeah,
which
just what your actual usage is.
yeah, and it does come back and forth because it does this stuff isn't free. Using
Yeah.
you know the person I cost excuse me, I cost Comcast a lot more money. Well, I wouldn't even say a lot more money. That's not right. I cost Comcast more money than the person who just checks their email, you know, and that's
Right.
all they do. Um, but this is also my livelihood. It's also my hobby. But I also pay them a lot of money, so I don't mind paying them. I mind them changing the rules on me, um,
Right.
and I do mind them, messing with the packets because that's the service that I've contracted out. Um,
Right. You're
so
pay- yeah, you're paying them kind of like a utility. I'm still not settled in my thoughts about whether internet service is specifically a utility or not. But that's mostly in context of rules and regulations and how it should operate
right.
from a governmental standpoint. but it is in effect a utility uh, because people do use it. It, like you said, it was your livelihood and your hobby. It's just like I like a hobby for me would be to wash my car on Saturday morning, for example. Uh, that could be considered a hobby, but I would need the utility of a water service in order to output the water. But to
Right.
use that in a livelihood context, water is also needed to make fresh tea or take a bath, water the plants, wash the dishes. So
Right. But the
there's
difference,
that.
but by
But
calling it a utility,
I am getting a little off topic, but
right? But by calling it a utility, you pay. The more water you use, the more you pay. The
right,
more electricity you use, the more you pay. The more gas you use, the more you pay. And
right,
that's not really my complaint. My what I want from, just like from the power company, I expect to get on my line 110 to 120 volts. I don't expect to come home one day and turn on the lights and all my lights explode because they sent 240 volts down the line.
right,
And I expect, my stuff to run because not, and not just brown out because they're sending me 80 volts.
right.
That's But the difference is, I guess, too, is your power company can't change. I guess, like I said, it does come more back to like a mailman, if or to kind of basically it's like a mailman. I go, if I was to mail you a letter, federal law prevents any tampering. Like if the mailman decided I want to open the letter and uh, stick something in it. I want to put whatever, a notice that it doesn't matter, no matter how benign.
It's
They
like,
can't.
hey, your dog kind of was a little mean the other day. Could you do something about that, please? Yeah,
Right,
that's a little more benign, but the method of getting it in there, that would be a different story,
right.
right?
But this Xfinity thing, this Comcast thing, is that they've sent me they sent me a note, which is fine. I'm cool with that. They send me notes about my usage all the time because I've set it up. I clicked all the boxes so that when I hit, I want to say 50%, they start they every month, about the middle of the month, because I've spread out my usage and I make sure that I up and down, and my
Yeah,
throughput was
your
doing a sawtooth.
yeah, your stream has stopped
Yeah,
at 17:14. Um,
yeah. If
but
I had a
yeah,
if I had a good way to get this, my throughput is up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So
yeah, and that's really leading. That's segueing into the note I should have really hit on, or what I intended to hit on, but I sidetracked. Okay, we're back at 18 minutes in on the stream.
uh huh.
You pay for the service. Uh, they advertise speed. And theoretically, what you're paying for is, hey, I purchased 50 megs down. Uh,
It's 50
and
megs down, 10 megs up,
okay,
and I
it is 10.
usually get better than that. I usually get rock solid better than that. That's why even though we have had issues with customer service when it comes to the actual technology, their actual service, hands down 10 out of 10 almost every day.
Right.
So so
But
Comcast, if you're listening, I'm not, well, we were going to keep this PG. I'm not griping about your service. So we want to go in conspiracy theory territory. Please stop throttling my speed and cutting me off the internet,
yeah, it's
because I'm
just
a champ. Because I am a champion for Comcast.
yeah, you
Now I get tons of hate mail if anybody actually watches this, but like I said, for the service, I'm a champion for Comcast.
yeah, you're more gracious about the subject.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
because if you look at them at two different things, if you look at the customer service when you call somebody and it's anything but the most basic problem, they don't know what they're talking about. So their phone customer service is terrible. But from my experience, other people have had different experiences. But my experience until today has been rock solid, always up. Well, up 99. They probably actually hit the 99.9% uptime. I don't know if they promised that, but everybody else does, I know, and they don't hit it.
Yeah, it would
So,
be nice to have an actual metric of that, um, but yeah, it's just like with any ISP really. You They advertise we have better speed than such and such, like their commercial. One of their commercials compares their Xfinity to AT&T Uverse. Now, granted, that commercial is very misleading because part of that's AT&T's fault for um, comparing a top tier of a brand to the bottom tier of a brand. AT&T Uverse, I think, goes as low as 3 megs down, which is not ADSL or VDSL rather, VADSL that Uverse is supposed to be. Uverse, from a technology standpoint, is supposed to be fiber optic up to the last mile, then copper.
right.
It is a type of FTTN network, and just in that they sort of opened themselves up a bit for that because they're using some old DSL under that branding. But Comcast would say, here's our introductory offer amount. You pay this much, and you should get the speed. When a customer going in expects to get that speed, and if they do get more, that's great. That can make them a happy customer.
Right. Well, you have to look
That's
closely
exceeding.
at the
Yeah.
marketing. It is speeds up to, and they've actually got
Right.
some complicated legalese, but people, it's a psychological thing. If you see, if somebody puts a number out there, that's the number you're going to fixate on.
Right. It's there's a fine line. It's There's a fine gray area to where that can cause um, bad PR or even good PR in the sense is like, hey, I want to try that. I'm going to go for it. Uh, but then they may fall short in what they actually get, and then that can make some unhappy customers. But
Okay.
yeah, we should
Well,
wrap this up.
yeah, I think we
It's
should move
yeah,
on because I think I just like I said, I just wanted to throw that out there because it. I guess to summarize it, it breaks the implicit trust that the websites we request aren't being modified. Like
right.
I'm reading this next story. Well, the next story, I'm having to trust that none of this text has been changed or none of these photos have been changed. Like, how do I know this ad for Larry King belongs on this website? Well, there's an implicit trust that it belongs on this website. But if your ISP is changing how it is adding code, it would be trivial almost to swap out ad code because ad code is very specific. That's how ad blocker works. Is it knows they could actually take the ad blocker database. Okay, now we're talking about really nefarious stuff, but
Yeah, and
um,
there's malicious injections by hackers and whatnot to take advantage to attempt to take advantage of that.
well, a much
But
simpler
yeah,
injection than what they did to pop up that message could redirect me to a malicious site in 1 to 3 lines.
hmm.
It's a simple redirect. But anyway, so next story, um, the Silk Road creator, he created a basically it was a Tor based system, I believe, but it was where you could go and anonymously buy and sell stuff. It was a anonymous marketplace. And one thing it did quickly turn into is a place to buy and sell drugs because it was anonymous. And the way I understand his thing, I think he's saying basically that he was trying to get a place where people could do that kind of thing without government oversight. Basically, he didn't want the government getting in anybody's business.
Right.
Which,
It's a sort of a black market version of a Silk Road. The
right,
Silk Road, in historical context, being the the long route that channeled silk from ancient China to Europe as a trade good.
right. So, yeah, so I mean, basically, he got life in prison. They're going to try to appeal, of course. His lawyers requested a mistrial, and the judge said, no, you're not a mistrial. So, I mean, I'm surprised that he just got life.
Yeah,
Because I think, isn't life not really life? Isn't it something like 20 years?
yeah, it's like 20 to 30, I believe, which
I mean,
is it
that's
is it too long considering, I mean, the word life. People can live 30 years, they could live 100 years.
right. So the reasonable probability. Yeah, so that's what the judge was saying. I'm trying to find. There's a good quote. Like he does say, I wish I could go back and convince myself to take a different path. That's kind of out of context, so I don't know. That sounds like he's saying he's sorry and wish he didn't do it. But I'm trying to find the other one. Okay. Yeah, he also says, I've had my youth, and I know you must take away my middle years, but please leave me my old age, he said. Please leave a small light at the end of the tunnel, an excuse to stay healthy, an excuse to dream of better days ahead, and a chance to redeem myself in the free world before I meet my maker. So this article, which is by RT, so whatever this is, um, it starts out very biased. It says the convicted creator of Silk Road Online Drug Bazaar. Yeah, there was a lot of drugs there, but you could also buy. Well, all the other examples I can come up with is, I mean, people ordered everything. Like you could buy hits on other people and stuff. So it sounded pretty bad, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
So
yeah. What it sounds like to me, from what I understand, is the Silk Road. Whatever Ulbricht's intention was in keeping the government out, it was an anarchist type system. It was the other extreme of overregulation. It was underregulated, and it was a wild west, so to speak.
right, I think even on one of the other articles I read, people were describing it as a wild west, and
Right.
you know,
There may
I
be a legit business going through it, like someone needs parts to make a product that they will sell on the open market as a legit thing. Just
right.
there was also, it made it too easy for the illicit, the paraphernalia to be channeled
I think
in
that's where they
different
got it.
directions.
That's why it
Yeah.
became an issue because there was no checks and balances. I could go on there and sell my car, or I could go on there and sell sell meth or whatever. It's just
Right.
you everywhere else, like even YouTube. Well, even YouTube. YouTube is an example. There's illicit content on YouTube all the time, but they're making efforts to keep it off of YouTube publicly, and more or less YouTube, Google, everybody who has a vested interest gets left alone.
Right.
Um, but anyway, that was a That was something
Right.
I thought was interesting. On a side note, I don't think I think something like Silk Road, trying to not condemning the actions of the people on it do commercial transactions anonymously. So it would be
Right.
neat to see something like Silk Road that did not allow illegal actions. And I'm not sure how you could maintain the anonymity and prevent the illegal activity. So that may not be an option.
Right. Um, there needs it just needs its own proper checks and balances, whatever that may be, and it's just it was basically an anarchist style system, as in anarchists, not in a malicious sense, but a what the heck, have at it. I'm not even going to care. Go at it as you wish. But
Right.
that's just maybe too loose. And see,
Mm.
where am I going with this? It's too free willing. It's the wheel has come off the hub, and yeah,
Right. So anyway, where are we at? According to this, we're 32 minutes in, but I think I started the timer late.
yeah.
So,
Do you want to skip the next story, or do you want to just briefly glaze over it
oh, the
in our
next
what the heck story, or
no,
what the
let's
heck
let's
segment?
let's talk about this because this has been a very negative show so far.
Has it?
And but so before I introduce it, let me ask you a question. How
Okay.
much would you pay for a wife?
In a material sense or a different sense?
No, material.
That would be a hard one to do.
That's not a baited question, or a loaded question whatsoever, is it? But no, but seriously, I didn't even know what to call this, but just going on. I'm going to share the CNN version of the article. Is Kenyan lawyer offers cows, goats, and sheep to marry? I always mispronounce her name. Malia,
Malia.
Malia
Malia.
Obama, President Obama's oldest daughter. So here
Okay,
it
so it
is.
is the oldest daughter. I get
Yep.
those two mixed up. Her and Shasha.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. So in this picture, I believe she's the one on the left. Does it say?
If yeah, if it's the older, if Malia is the older daughter, yes, I saw the picture earlier.
Yeah. So
Click the link.
that's wow. So
Yeah, the
it
one
actually
in
has
the
down
white
here.
dress.
Okay, 50 cows, 70 sheep, and 30 goats. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I guess accepting cultural differences is definitely a thing, but he tried to buy he tried to buy a woman, which probably is completely acceptable in his country and his
Possibly
culture,
so.
but he tried to buy it from someone who would be completely unacceptable. So do
Yeah,
your
that is.
research.
Yeah, for one, that he's a lawyer, so I'm assuming he should know how to do a little research on other cultures and
Right.
the rules. I believe it could come across as very offensive to Obama and others because you don't just buy people. That in America, especially, that has too many negative connotations of the days of slavery. Uh, and
Well, if it's
you,
worth anything,
yeah,
I did miss this earlier. It says that his offer could be worth in excess of $90,000. So basically, he offered over $90,000.
yeah, to own a wife, which is
Yeah.
still one that's grossly devaluating Malia
So
as a human being.
you're saying
And
she's worth more than $90,000? We're definitively saying that.
what I'm saying is, it's hard to put a dollar amount or whatever his local currency is on a human life.
Yeah. Well, no,
It's just
they put $90,000. That's what he's saying it's worth. So kind of like if I offered you, I don't know, like my game collection, which is now digital, so I can't really do that. So, but yeah. So, but anyway, I thought this was interesting. It's definitely lighthearted because we don't live in the country where he could be pressured into even remotely accepting the offer. Nor
right.
could he accept the offer now that I think about it, because she is an American citizen, so he can't, by law. I mean, I guess he could accept the offer, but then yeah, it would be done. Nothing would happen.
Yeah. Mr. Felix, I'll just call him by his first name. He, he's probably
Oh, I know he's
the,
PewDiePie. We don't know PewDiePie's last name. Maybe this is him.
oh, I
I don't know
forgot
his last name.
PewDiePie's name is also Felix. Um, well, at any rate, he seems like fascinated with Malia, uh, like a kind of in the context of like a kid falls in love with a celebrity, seeing them in the
Well,
public eye,
if you're going to read
and
the whole thing, it's really creepy. I got interested in her in 2008.
he
That
said,
was 7 years. Yeah, it's in here. So she
"Yeah,
was
she was."
9.
Yeah, I was quickly glancing through some of the pictures earlier, and I think it was one of the first ones. If I can get back to it, uh,
Yeah.
she was a little kid,
Okay, this is
which
supposed to be a
that's just,
funny story, but now it's just turning into a creepy story. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
I'm
because of the cows, the chickens, and the goats.
yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, it's just dude needs to reevaluate that, and he may be out of his league.
May.
The culture is just there's too much culture difference for it to be an easy reach.
Right.
That's nice that he adores her and admires her, but you can't buy a person, especially not in a Western culture. Yeah, and
Well,
it's
I'm sure
just
you probably could in some of
it's
the South
culturally
American.
insensitive in some ways
Right.
because of the slavery connotations, and she's too young for one,
Uh-huh.
according to American law.
Well, you can marry at 16.
Actually, yeah, at 16 you have to have the parents' consent, but still, I don't think Obama would be too keen on selling his daughter. That's what it just feels like. It's a buy the wife thing.
Well, no,
That's
that's
just
exactly what it
yeah,
boils down to. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I just want to
Next
throw it there.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're not very balanced because the rest of the stories are yours. So take it
Well,
away.
well, there might be a little in there for you. Uh, uh, they Hyundai has implemented Android Auto, and what I think is a beta or a test scenario for that, but it kind of sits on top where you're on your Hyundai infotainment screen, and then you tap a button, then it goes to the Android Auto setup. In relative terms of market share, it's definitely a it's something that's kind of limited and buggy at this point, but it is a step in the direction of cars being better integrated with people's personal devices, like their phones. 2012 uh, Ford and Lincoln vehicles. It it well, I should backpedal a bit. Android Auto allows you to receive texts. It will read it aloud to you via tapping an icon on the touchscreen in the dash. It will read it aloud to you, and it would allow you to reply back. So it will dictate your voice into the text message. And also Cortana now. It would say so and so has sent a or text message from so and so, and it would give me the option to read it or ignore it. If I told it to read it, it would read it aloud to me. And once it's done, I would have the option to send that person back a text message. So I continue to speak to the phone using the car's microphone, and I could hear what it would say through the car's speaker. What Android Auto does is just have that natively sit in the car's infotainment system. But it's interesting that yeah, it brings the infotainment experience of cars one step closer to a very usable system. A lot of automotive infotainment systems out there now are fragmented and buggy, really buggy, uh, and very, very limited in what they can do. Uh, but since it is only compatible with Android Lollipop devices right now, and from what I've read on sources like Autoblog and Jalopnik, it is a bit of a buggy display. So I'm just going to call it a beta right now. I'm not sure if Google is calling it a beta, but so far it is available on one car. That is the 2015 Hyundai Sonata. And in a one-upmanship, if you can call it that, Chevrolet announced a week later, or less than a week later, that 14 of their models will have compatibility with Android Auto in Apple's CarPlay. Um, so people should be able to order one or the other or both in the coming 2016 model year for 14 different models there. So the adoption of this kind of technology is picking up a little steam in its early stage. And on another note, HTC is rumored to be working on an Android Auto competitor. And it's taking on a whole different UI approach. That is. Do you have
Yeah,
something to say, Joe?
yeah. My wife is she's big into HTC on the phones, so it would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting, I think, for her. Although got a she's got a car with Ford Sync in it, so I'm not sure exactly how that would integrate or if she could take advantage of any of the features.
Mm, that's right. I'm assuming it's going to be a compatible system that would replace the infotainment system natively. Like the Sync, her car has a Sync 1 on it as well. Uh, Sync 2 is known as My Ford Touch to a lot of people,
Right.
uh, which people have their gripes about it being buggy or frustrating to use. And I think part of that is to do with the different UI. The buttons are smaller, whereas like Sync One with a touchscreen experience, there's two different versions of Sync One. The one where it's just mostly audio controls, and then there's the touchscreen version. The touchscreen version of Sync One has four quadrants. So does my Ford Touch. Uh, but the difference, oh, I'm sorry, Sync 1 actually has three quadrants. There is the main screen, which is defaulted to the navigation, since this version does come with nav. Um, and then there's typically, say, the media and then the climate controls. Uh, those you could touch on one of the quadrants anywhere in that quadrant, and it will take you to that screen. My Ford Touch, you have to be more specific. You have to touch the end of the corner, which can be frustrating for a lot to come up with its own hardware and software. Think maybe Apple iPhone with the iPhone's level of integration of software and hardware, since Apple makes the hardware and they also created the software to go along with that hardware. So if HTC really is working on a competitor to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, it could have great benefits. But some of the things that they're going for is deep level integration that may require access to the CAN bus systems of the car, uh,
Right.
which could lead to all sorts of stuff. Um, the CAN bus, for those that do not know, is uh, I forget what it was called.
Well, it's how
It
they
is
did the
it's
hacks that I'm sure everybody's seen by now.
yeah, the
That lets
60
you,
protocols
yeah, lets you take over the car, but you have,
in many cases. But HTC is working on its own system, or at least it's rumored to be. And maybe we will find out in the next month or so what they may have planned. But to keep rolling on the infotainment subject, uh, Ford has an two, aka my Ford Touch, and a lot of the controls are on the touchscreen interface. Yeah, but people have been finding that frustrating because they cannot feel the buttons without looking to see what they're punching. And so, excuse me. And a simpler interface. It looking at the interface, it kind of reminds me of the buttons on an Android device or a Windows Phone device, where it has several large buttons at the bottom, like navigation, phone, climate. You can use those as hotkeys to just go to its certain sections. And the color palette has been cleaned up a lot. Instead of being very fancy and high color like my Ford Touch, which is nice to look at, but not as easy to see per se. And but that may change. That part may change because it looks quite bland, and so does Android Auto in the video that was shown last year. But Sync 3 is uh, in the works, and it should be arriving fairly soon for 2016 model year vehicles made by Ford Motor Company, starting with the 2016 Lincoln Continental, and probably to follow soon after that is the 2016 Ford Taurus, and along with hello key, um, with other 2017 model year vehicles to follow suit, and it should be a more holistic approach uh, in the field of infotainment systems. It should be much improved. Cars infotainment has lagged behind for years uh, behind the smartphone capable generation of technology. Excuse me. Any comments, Joey?
no, I was just looking over this article and, between my internet crashing on me.
Oh dear.
Um, well, you know, whatever. Uh, but yeah, it is surprising how far behind cars are. I guess is the biggest comment as far as the entertainment part of it or the infotainment, whatever you want to call it, because it's I don't think anybody should be sitting there watching movies on it, but
From infotainment, which it derives its name from information in an entertainment system combined. Uh, they basically designed the system along with the rest of the car in its beginning stages. Style and acknowledgement, whereas the cars they only get updated every few years um, in the design process. You typically have to wait anywhere from 4 to 6 years for even a refresh, but it has many improvements, and it has the actually that was the first time it got Sync 1, whereas its new model year 3 years after the fact it has Sync to make a quick turnaround. The cars it just takes several years because if they have to change something, it typically comes in the form of, hey, we got to make a return on investment for all the tooling, even for the interior bits. That costs them millions. Dodge Charger, the Chrysler 300, the 200 as well, the Jeep Cherokee. That is one of the best systems out on the market. It's super easy to use. It's laid out well. It's fairly colorful, and it's compatible with many phones. A lot of older systems cannot read any newer phones as well. It's just like my Nokia Lumia 920. It came out in the year 2012, I think, or at least I picked it up in the year 2012. It's been updated several times to become more compatible. But my 2010 vehicle with Sync 1, uh, it's a little bit behind. It was not aware of some of the newer standards and technology. Much newer phone using some different technology for whatever it is that displays it. It does not know. It just plays it. It has the equalizer, but it does not have the title and the artist. But to go back to the competitive system, BlackBerry, since they bought QNX, it's a different operating system altogether than what BlackBerry has been using in the best ways to do infotainment, if not the best way to do infotainment out on the market right now. You can actually get it, and it's been out for a few years. And I have used cars with its proprietary software, and it works beautifully. But one of the challenges for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is boot times. Cars, they require an extremely fast boot time, just a few seconds, so people can crank their car up, their infotainment will boot up, they can use it right then and there. Because that also has other important features like maybe a backup camera or your radio or your climate control that you want to access quickly so you can take care of it and then get on the road. It can't take a while like you're booting up your PC or your Mac. That may take 30 seconds, or take a minute, whatever. And Ford is going to be using BlackBerry QNX for Sync 3. And based off of viewing some videos, it does look to be pretty quick and pretty easy to use. But here's the interesting kicker. Microsoft will be maintaining the Sync 3 system. They'll keep it updated. They'll keep the bugs fixed. And I'm not sure which team this is in Microsoft, but it is a special infotainment team. In fact, many of the infotainment systems out there are done by Microsoft. The Sync system is one of Microsoft's crown jewels as far as infotainment goes. But they've also had, I'm assuming this is a different team, work on things like the Toyota Intune system.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
common thing too with Microsoft that I think they're slowly moving away from. Is Microsoft isn't one company; it's actually a bunch of different companies that actually compete against each other.
right.
So that's why if you're you follow the Xbox stuff. That's why the early Xbox stuff, team was fighting with the Windows team, and the Windows team was fighting with the Office team, and it was just it wasn't fun. Well, I imagine it wasn't fun.
Oh, it's not fun
So,
to watch. That's for
right.
sure.
It's not good
Just
for customers
following the
either.
industry. Oh no, it's frustrating.
Yeah,
It's just
a company fighting with itself is not good for customers. A bunch of companies fighting with each other is good for customers.
because that is competition, whereas the infighting that Microsoft has been plagued with for some time now, that's just self-deprecating, and it has the potential to self-destruct the company. But since Satya Nadella has become CEO, that is thankfully going away, and the company is learning from the better parts of itself, like the Xbox team's success. The Surface team is doing well. Uh, Windows 10 is about to come out. Windows 8 is going out the door, and the mistakes have been made, but the lessons are learned from those mistakes. and we are just over an hour.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say that. So we technically do have one more story. I didn't know if you wanted to get into it or if you wanted to save it for next week.
Yeah, that was going to be a revisit on the Google autonomous cars. Um, yeah, I know we pushed it off last week. Basically, Google, since they have been running and testing these autonomous automobiles with automatic
Language.
transmissions, um, Google has apparently had about 11 incidents with their autonomous cars on public roads, but they have not been very transparent about it, at least at first. Uh,
Somebody rear-ending them or something like that. Which
yeah, some of them were rear end collisions, which rear. Hello, cat. My cat wants to say hey. Hello. Rear end collisions are the most common in the country, which, since that was one of the collisions, that's kind of not really surprising. But one of the other accidents that the Google car had was with an autonomous Audi from a different project group. Audi's testing their own autonomous cars. But apparently, what happened there was the Audi SQ5 was in manual mode and being driven by a person making a left hand turn, possibly when they weren't supposed to. And Google's claim so far is all the accidents were either human error or just bad judgment. Uh, another one of those being someone ran a stop sign or a stoplight.
right.
But since then, Google has been ramping up their transparency with their first batch of self-driving cars. They have built about 25 of these little koala looking like vehicles. They have a little koala face. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, and they have launched a website to. Wow, that story did not link very well. But, anyways, they have launched their own website to help explain, be more transparent about the happenings of the cars and traffic ongoing.
Okay. All right. So that does bring us basically to the end here. We do have a question of the week,
Yes.
and it definitely applies to your last story. And the question of the week is, who do you think was liable if an autonomous vehicle is involved in an accident? That's not for us to answer. That's for the viewers to answer. Leave your responses in the comments below, or you can send us a tweet with your answer at Joe of the West and at ZealofSparta. Um, did you have anything else you want to say? I think we're basically done.
Yeah, I think that's it. Rushed a couple of stories when ran in a circle or on a couple of places, but
Mm-hmm.
it was fun.
All right.
It's version 0.20 on our podcast.
Right. And if you want to follow either of us, I'm going to leave links in the bottom of this podcast on where you can follow us, or you can just look at what's on the screen. Um,
And for you audio listeners exclusive out there, you can find him at Joe of the West on Twitter, or find me at Zeal of Sparta in the same place on Twitter. I'm pretty active there on a nearly daily basis. I cover cars, mechanical engineering related subject matter, technology, and the like. And some gaming. I do gaming. I have my own gaming channel.
that is true, which you can see on the screen, and I'm not going to read it out loud. So, all right. Well, I'm Joe of the West.
And I am ZealofSparta.
And we are out.
Another episode is in the can.